Here you are in the Nakisa HR Suite Administrator Training. Please note this video is part of a series of training videos that we have created to enable our clients to be proficient in the admin console of the Nakisa HR Suite. This video consists of three topics, which include modifying scenario collaboration model, modifying scenario thresholds, and providing scenario access to users from admin panel. Over the three objectives of this video. The first objective is to showcase how to change the scenario collaboration model to scenario share only. So there are two types of scenario collaboration models in the Nakisa HR Suite. The first model is called the work area assignments and scenario share, and the second model is called scenario share only. The first model allows the users to share a full scenario and subset of the scenario with users. This collaboration model comes with additional capabilities such as scenario workflows, work areas, and scenario targets. The scenario share only model allows the users to share the entire scenario only and does not allow for workflows and setting scenario targets. Both these models have their own benefits, which can be discussed in the upcoming slide. The second objective is to showcase how to increase the active scenario threshold, because these thresholds limit the number of scenarios each user can have at any given time. And the third objective is to showcase how to provide new users with access to existing scenarios. Let's look into the first objective, which is modifying the scenario collaboration model. It is usually recommended to set the collaboration model before any scenarios are created in the system, because changing the model when active scenarios are present might cause an unexpected behavior of the existing scenarios and may result in sensitive data being visible to other users in the scenario. Now, let's think of a business use case where your org design team has asked you to change the scenario collaboration model to scenario share only, as work area assignments and approval workflows does not apply to their process. Also, it was mentioned that it will be relatively easy to train the users on using scenarios once the switch is made, as the scenario share only model contains only the features that are essential for their org design process. So what you see on the left-hand side is the scenario management page that contains the workflow assignments and approval related features, as it comes with the full-blown scenario model. And the image on the right-hand side is enabled with the scenario share only model. Now let's jump into the admin console and see how to modify the scenario collaboration model. From the admin section of the Nakisa HR Suite, let me select scenario management. The scenario management page consists of various sections, which is the scenario settings, scenario validation settings, scenario target settings, and scenario maintenance. The scenario settings section can be leveraged to modify the scenario collaboration model to enable or disable various scenarios, and it consists of various other capabilities. The scenario validation settings is used to apply quality controls to data before they write back. And the scenario target settings is used to enable or disable the various scenario targets. And the scenario maintenance section is used to modify scenario archive settings and to provide new users with access to scenarios. Now, going back to our first objective, which is to modify the scenario collaboration model, let me select the scenario settings. Within the scenario settings section, we have the scenario collaboration model dropdown. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select this drop down and select the scenario share only model. So once I go ahead and do that, the model is changed to scenario share only model. But please don't forget to save these changes so that the appropriate collaboration model is applied. Let's look into the second objective, which is increasing scenario thresholds. Let's assume the VP of Organizational Design at your company has asked you to increase the active scenario threshold to 10 from the existing limit. The reason being, the org design members work with at least 10 different active scenarios at any point in time. So in order to modify the scenario thresholds, let me scroll down a bit and access the scenarios number field. As you can see here, the maximum org design scenarios limit at current moment is 15, which is above the requested limit of 10, which is good. Then the maximum number of team design scenarios that can be activated at the current time is 5. So let me increase it to 10 as per the request. Then, as you can see here, the maximum org merger scenarios that can be activated by the members is basically 5. Now let me increase that to 10. And please note that if you do not want to limit your users on the number of scenarios that they are creating, you can enter the number -1. Also, please note, having too many active scenarios will have an effect on the system performance. It is recommended for larger companies to limit their scenarios to somewhere between 25 to 30 to ensure high performance. And please don't forget to save these changes as well. Let's look into the third objective, which is providing scenario access to new users. Let's assume one of the members of your organizational design team has left the organization and they had forgot to share the ownership of these scenarios with the other members of the organizational design team. So the VP of organizational design has asked you to share the ownership of these scenarios with an existing member within the organizational design team, which is Elizabeth Glenn. So in order to do that, let me collapse the scenario settings section. And within the scenario maintenance section, let me select scenario maintenance. What you see is the scenario list page. This contains the list of various scenarios which are either active or archived within the Nakisa HR Suite. Now let's look at one of those scenarios, which is the org design for manufacturing. So the scenario type column provides us details of the type of scenario, whether it's a team design or an org design or an org merger scenario. We have details of the creator of this scenario, the creation date, last modified date. Then the status column basically specifies if it is an active scenario or an archived scenario. Then we also have the option to delete and reindex it. And lastly, we have the option to assign or remove access uh, from these scenarios, and we can provide new users with the access to these scenarios. In this training video, we've seen how to modify the scenario collaboration model and how to increase the active scenario threshold. And we've also seen how to provide the scenario access to new users in the company. Thank you.